Something I didn't talk about in the last session on the X-bar R chart is this item here, UCL, and that stands for Upper Control Limit. And then we also see down here LCL, that's Lower Control Limit. These others that we see, USL, that's Upper Spec or Specification Limit, are similar to, and I'll talk about those in a moment. But the UCL, Upper Control Limit here, and we see a line go all the way across the chart here. If our values go outside of that, then we know something has probably changed and we need to take corrective action. Same likewise if it goes down. Those are calculated values. So what that does is it looks at our history and how we have been, our quality of our product that we've been producing. And it determines ranges based on that history. And so now, based on the history, we're staying within these boundaries. If something goes out of that, something changed based on our history. So historically, we've stayed within those. Now something went outside of there. And so if this line went up, for example, instead of it was here, it was up here, like this, then we know something is wrong. We're outside of our normal operating parameters of quality. Now the calculations for the upper control limit and lower control limit are beyond the scope of these training videos. There's plenty of resources, books, and other resources on the internet that go into the calculation of those control limits. And we'll touch a little bit on those later on in the training sessions. But for resources on how those are actually calculated, there's other resources for that. The spec limits, upper spec limit and then lower spec limit down here, are just fixed hard limits. So for example, if you're producing soap and you're monitoring the level of the soap in the box, if the soap gets too low, the consumer opens it and just feels like, I didn't get all my soap. Even though by weight it might be okay. So you might have a hard spec limit of how low that soap should go into the box. And then you might have an upper spec limit. If the soap gets too high, when you go to close the box, it causes a problem. And so you might have a hard spec limit. So those could be very fixed values that you need to stay within the range. We can also have control limits down on our range chart as well, saying that, yeah, we're starting to be more inconsistent and we need to take a look at what's going on and why we're suddenly getting a little sporadic on our consistency. Also, you really don't achieve a range of 0 in most processes. It's healthy to have some variation. That's very natural. If you do have a range of 0, that's kind of an indication that maybe the sample data is not correctly being taken.